So there are three main phases when it comes to men's fat loss and them getting in shape. And what I see happen a lot is when it comes to phase 2, this is where people get stuck. And I've seen it happen many times with men in the gym that they can nearly spend their entire lives being stuck in phase 2. Let me explain. Phase 1, this is for somebody who is in excess of body fat. They're very overweight. And them losing the guts of, 5 or 6 pounds isn't going to make that much of a difference in their physique. They might have to lose an initial 20 to 25 pounds for them to start to see some kind of lean definition, an outline of muscle around their biceps, their chest, their midsection, things like that. Here's the thing with phase 1. Phase 1 is quite enjoyable because your maintenance calories are so high to begin with. You just have to drop into a little bit of a deficit. Start lifting some weights, start doing some cardio, start looking after yourself just a little bit better. You start feeling good, you start feeling like you've got more energy again, your strength is going up quite quickly in the gym, and you're looking at the scales and the pounds are slowly but surely dropping off consistently. In a lot of cases, when people decide to hit the ground running hard, they'll start to notice maybe dropping a kilo or 2 a week. And that's if someone is locked in who is very overweight. And in phase 1, this is where people do have to rely heavily on using the scales as a metric of success and using their measurements because they're not in a position where their body fat is low enough for them to start seeing noticeable changes in their muscle definition and abs, maybe getting some veins out, chest striation starting to come through, six-pack is starting to come through. That usually comes around the end of phase 2. And you'll often hear people say when they're in phase 1, I'm so overweight, I'm so fat, my metabolism is very slow. No, that's not the case. Because you have so much weight on your body, when you start lifting weight, you start doing cardio, that takes a lot more energy for your body to use in order for you to move, in order for you to just do day-to-day activities. So your metabolism is at an all-time high. Because your maintenance calories are so high, because you've got so much body mass, it means that your deficit is still going to be a little bit higher and you can start to notice a lot of changes happening with your measurements and happening with the scales. Phase 1 is very easy to get motivated for because you're trying to run away from as much pain as possible. Pain being you wake up in the morning and you're sick of feeling absolutely disgusted with how you look. These are horrible things to say, but this is exactly how my clients have described it to me over the years of me being a PT and an online coach. Phase 2 is where things start to change a little bit. I'll give it an example. When I first started my cut 8-9 weeks ago, I think I was in the phase 2 phase. You can see a little bit of muscle definition. You can see after I train, I've got a little bit of a pump. You can clearly see that I work out, but it's nothing impressive. This is where it takes a little bit more discipline. It takes a little bit more focus and attention on what you need to do in order to start bringing that body fat percentage down a little bit more. This is where progress photos are very useful because you're able to track how lean you're getting on a week-to-week or bi-monthly basis, however way you want to track your progress. I think tracking it on a week-to-week basis is the best because you're able to collect as much data as possible about your body. So you're able to refine your system as quickly as possible. However, with phase 2 comes with a lot of adjustments that need to be made with your current lifestyle. You're not going to be going out as much. You're not going to be eating the things that you enjoy eating as much. You're not going to be enjoying social events as much. You're going to have to go through a phase of suck because there's a fine line in phase 2 between running away from pain and running toward pleasure. When you're in phase 1, because you're so disgusted, you're trying to run away from as much pain as possible. You want to look and feel better. Phase 1 is great at getting you through that. Phase 2, on the other hand, not for everybody, but for a lot of people, it becomes a lot more challenging to have to give up the things that you enjoy doing. The things that put you in the space of being mega uncomfortable with your body. And what happens in phase 2 is a lot of people can drop off and old habits can start to creep back in. You start to tell yourself a little story. Oh, I don't look as bad as what I used to. I don't have as much of a belly anymore. I can see a little bit of muscle definition. So that means I don't have to do my cardio every night. I can skip 1 or 2 gym sessions. I can start to eat some of the really nice things that I love to eat. I can go out drinking every single weekend. And this story you tell yourself, this is really what can keep you in phase 2 throughout your entire life. And I've seen it happen, and it's actually quite sad to see it happen. Ultimately, phase 2 either makes or breaks a fat loss journey. And here's the thing. When you enter a fat loss journey and your goal at the start is to get as lean as possible, that's the goal. That's only ever going to be the goal because that's what you originally set out to do. So the goal is never going to be complete until you get to phase 1. Phase 1 being you've gotten between 10 to 15% body fat, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of discipline. However, the trade-off of when you hit phase 1 is it all starts to become worth it. You can see visible 6-pack abs, maybe an 8-pack if your genetics will allow it. You can see veins around your biceps. People who know you personally will start to look at you and think, who is this person? They look totally different to what they did 6 months ago, a year ago. They will start to ask you, what have you been doing? You look incredible. You almost look like a bodybuilder. And here's the thing, because you can see yourself visually, you've changed so much. You can look at your first photo when you were fat, you were disgusted with yourself, to your current photo, phase 1, closer to 10% body fat. You're looking like an absolute weapon. I mean 10% body fat being, if you've ever seen Brad Pitt in Fight Club, that kind of physique that you're pushing towards. You're better to push towards that physique to the point where you're feeling nearly even a little bit skinnier. You don't have as much mass on your body. That's excellent. You're in a good position because that is when you can start to slowly reverse your calories back up so that you're able to start to pack on more muscle. And that's when you get to add in a little bit more food. However, you still gotta maintain and implement all the new habits that you've built over the last 6 months to a year that got you to 10 to 15% body fat. It's not a case of you get there and you go straight back to square one and eating whatever you like and going out and drinking all these social events. And I'm not saying you have to give them up forever. There has to be an element of sacrifice, an element of discipline that is going to help move you away from pain and start to run towards pleasure. Pain being fat, being disgusted with yourself. It's awful. I hate for anybody to feel like that about themselves. I've been there. It's not a nice feeling. And running towards pleasure, being so proud of what you've achieved that you just want to push on for bigger and better things with your physique. And here's the thing, when you're leaner, people treat you differently. Life gets easier. You can manage stress. Relationships are better. Opportunities start to come your way a little bit easier because here's the thing, when you're in good shape, you're putting out good energy, you're buzzing with yourself. Your whole perspective starts to change on life. People like that. People like being around other people with good energy. So I really want anybody who is on a fat loss journey, don't get stuck in phase 2. Complete all 3 phases and then go into a lean bulk looking like a machine.